podcast.
Hold on, Mike. Hold on. I got to put my attire on for this episode tonight. It's the funeral of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So I've got my black pullover. It's the funeral tonight, and it's fittingly it's a Browns polo too, Mike. So it's perfect because you texted saying this was very Brownsy in the first half.
It was very Brownsy. It was a very Brownsy loss. Very Brownsy.
Yeah. So I'm now dressed in all black, Mike. I'm ready to go. I don't even know. Like, people are texting me like, what do the Cavs do? What moves do they make? I was like, I don't think they can make moves. I know we're all on my grill about Giannis, and it's not possible. I've read like 5 different articles explaining why it's not possible because of roles and things. We can't trade any picks from until 2031 and all this other stuff. So I don't know. What do the Cavs do? I don't know. I mean, there's some things that we can talk about, like from the game tonight. Like the fact that we played a stretch in the second quarter when we were up by 19. We played a stretch in the second quarter with both Okoro and Wade on the floor and didn't even try Ty Jerome. And listen, I get that he was sucking, okay? But you had Isaac Okoro bringing the ball up the court. So you're telling me that the guy who was second and sixth man of the year or third and sixth man of the year, even though you played terrible, you couldn't put him in a position to bring the ball up the court and facilitate an offense? We were going to have Isaac Okoro out there. Now, Dean Wade actually made a few plays. Like, I will say it was kind of laughable with Spencer Dides or whatever the heck guy's announcer name was said, Dean Wade's been playing really good on both ends of the floor as he clanks 2 threes. Come on now. Give me a break. I didn't get the I understand that Ty Jerome had been playing bad, but he's been so integral in everything that the Cavs could do. Clearly, Darius Garland was hampered with his foot thing. We needed another ball handler on the floor, okay? Darius and Donovan was clearly hurt, okay? He was clearly hurting throughout the whole game. They couldn't hit anything. And then you go to him at the end of the third quarter, and Jerome starts to actually do stuff. And then he took him out of the game. Like, I was confused. And then he kept taking him out and then putting him like right back in. Like just leave him in the game. I don't know. There were some questionable decisions. I know that Atkinson was probably trying to just figure something out. Like, we needed to do something. Like, I don't know. They were talking about how the Cavs were trying to go with a more defensive lineup, and as soon as the guy Spencer Dides or whoever Greg Anthony, by the way, should never call NBA. He's one thing that's okay with the NBA not being on TNT anymore. I'm not going to have to hear Greg Anthony's ridiculous takes. That guy, I don't even know what he was doing, but I don't know what's worse, his play-by-play or the Cavs play in the game. Listen, the bottom line is this. The first quarter, when they played well, they were feeding it to Mobley and Allen. They stopped doing that. Allen basically disappeared in the whole – after the first quarter, he had 1 rebound, Mike, or something ridiculous. I read something. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that's true or not.
He only had 1 rebound.
So he had 1 rebound after the first quarter. Evan Mobley could have done anything, getting buckets, going to the lane, and they stopped giving him the basketball and were chucking up terrible threes. Garland couldn't hit anything, clearly, hampered. Mitchell couldn't hit anything until the fourth quarter. Max Strus, hey, let me send a group text saying, if you don't believe, then don't show up. Well, apparently he didn't believe because he was 0 for 9 from the field tonight. Strus was terrible. I mean, this all comes in the heels of, like, Strus, had great games this series. He had 2 great games this series, maybe even 3. Like, he played pretty well. He played terrible tonight. They also got Halliburton in foul trouble early and couldn't take advantage of it. Like, they go up 19 points. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like, they're going to do well. And then the offense just, something was out of sync. They didn't know what to do after the first. It was like they had it's the famous Kevin Stefanski. Like, we have a great first possession, and the Browns have a great, like, the scripted first possession, they score a touchdown, and then after that, they don't know what they're doing. It was like they had a first quarter scripted out, and then they didn't know what to do after that. They did fight back, and did they ever take the lead in the fourth quarter, Mike, or did they? At one point, did they have a 1 point lead in the fourth quarter?
I think we got it to 1. I don't think we ever took the lead. I don't believe.
Okay. But man, oh man, we can talk. We spent a lot of episodes this season talking about how historic season for the Cavs, all these great win streaks, but now we're just here in the exact same spot we were last year, losing in the second round, 4-1, and we're kind of in the same spot. Like, what can we do? Like, I don't know, and I don't know that this is the night that we pontificate on what moves the Cavs can make, because I honestly don't think there's many they can make. But I need to. I'm not the salary cap manager guy. Like, I don't know what the situation is for the Cavs, but man, we were talking earlier tonight, and I just said, I would be happy if the Cavs came out and won tonight, and then like they lost a close one on Game 6, then I could at least be like, all right, well, they showed some fight after losing games, and we can hem and haw about Game 2. We should have won Game 2. The NBA basically said that we should have won Game 2. Multiple things, but we also let it get to that point, right? So that you took the. I don't know. I think the bigger blemish to me isn't tonight. It's Game 4, Mike. How you can win Game 3 and then come out in Game 4 and get toasted.
How much of tonight's game do you, and the series in total, right? I think this is the big picture question. How much of what we saw tonight and what we saw in this series is due to injury? How much of it is due to the lack of intestinal fortitude / playoff basketball ready players versus the coaching that took place over the course of the season and in this particular series? There's a lot of Coach Bud in this series from Kenny Atkinson, and I know that goes back to being limited because of injuries. But when you look at this team over the course of the season, the depth, and we said it over and over again that it felt like we just didn't play bad lineups over the course of the year. And it's amazing how quickly during this series felt like we were playing nothing but bad lineups. And you look at the minutes tonight, and again, how much of it is injuries, how much of it is coaching decisions, how much of it is intestinal fortitude of the guys on the floor. But nobody on the Cavs played more than 38 minutes in this game tonight. That is a win or go home, lose your 64-win season, and you don't have anybody that goes over 40 minutes. And in all honesty, throughout the game or throughout the series, dudes looked exhausted. And it was great that they were able to keep their minutes low during the regular season, but you wonder that when they had to stretch it out and they needed somebody to go 44 or 46 minutes. Look, Garland's hurt, clearly. I give him credit for gutting it out. He was not good at all tonight. I think he was 4 of 16 and 0 for 6 from 3, and he had 5 turnovers. He was not good in any way, shape, or form. But without him on the floor, they had absolutely nothing and couldn't bring the ball up the floor, which gets to a coaching point. And I think something that was really smart from Rick Carlisle is just to pick up the Cavs guards. We saw it basically win Game 2 in the last few minutes when the Cavs couldn't even inbound the ball against pressure. But the accumulative effect of that throughout the entire series of picking guys up full court and pressuring them and wearing them out and just making them work to get the ball up the floor. The Cavs had to work so hard. I can't even count the number of times that the Cavs were crossing the half court line right on the 8-second count. And quite honestly, there were a few times where I'm watching the shot clock and I'm like, ooh, we were lucky we didn't get called for an 8-second violation there. And so that was really a good coaching decision by Rick Carlisle. And it's kind of amazing that more teams don't do that. Now, I know you're wearing your own guys out to some degree, right? So you have to have some depth on defense and you have to have some ability to be able to run multiple guys at somebody. But you look at even, and I know we're not going to jump to this series and talk about it very much right now, but you look at the Knicks Celtics series, and why not just pick Brunson up full court and make him work 94 feet all the time? Just alternate.
I bet you Indiana's going to do that, right?
Indiana's definitely going to do that. I don't think there's any question that New York's going to have it. Look, you can always have somebody else bring the ball up the floor and whatever, but the Cavs really struggled to make that happen. And so I give Carlisle a lot of credit for that. And it felt like tonight was a night that your starters had to play more minutes. And maybe, look, Garland gutted it out completely.
I think Mitchell gutted it out too, Mike. Like he clearly
Mitchell gutted it out. Mitchell gutted it out too. But you look up and down the board.
I feel like Mobley should have played more minutes because he didn't even like. I wouldn't. If you would have told me that was playing with an ankle injury, I would have never known that he was playing with an ankle injury.
Correct.
Right?
Which, right? I agree with you. Which part of that goes back to how does he not playing? How does he not play? How does he not play in game 2, where you come out of that and there's seemingly looks like there's no effect. He looked exactly.
But I remember seeing that. I remember seeing him walking on the sidelines and after the game, like video of him walking out of the locker room after the game. And he looked like he was definitely hobbled not at game 2.
I get it, right? But this is what my point was when those guys sat out game 2, that I think the Cavs felt like they could win that game without those guys. I'm not sure where they got that thought process from.
Well, they should have won that game, right?
They should have, but I don't know if you go back retrospectively. I wonder if there's a different thought process with those guys and the organization of whether or not you have them play. I know, look, hindsight's 2020, but man, there's so many different issues that you can look at, both in the microcosm of this game, in the totality of the series, and then over the course of the last 3 years. And so, look, you said we went back and we're in the same position that we were in last year. I would take it a step further and say we're in the same position that we were, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, after that first round series against the Knicks. You go into that series feeling like the Cavs are the better team. Cavs are going to advance in the first round of the playoffs against the Knicks. The Knicks completely take it to them. Jared Allen comes up with the lights were brighter than expected quote. It felt like the Knicks just completely overpowered, physically manhandled, intimidated the Cavs in that series. And in so many ways, this series, they weren't manhandled from a physical standpoint, but they certainly were outrun, outworked, outconditioned. It felt like I did not see the same level of fatigue in the Pacers that I saw in the Cavs. And it just leaves you wondering, again, like I said off the top of my comments here, what's the reason behind what we just witnessed? Is it strictly chalked up to injuries? And if those 3 injuries don't occur, do the Cavs look different? Now, they lost game 1 essentially with all those guys healthy, so maybe it's not an excuse, but there still is huge questions in my mind now about, can these 4 guys, are these the right 4 guys? And the questions
Well, Mike lost. I don't know. No, I don't know what the question was that Mike was going to ask us. We lost Mike. But we'll see when he comes back here. But listen, here's the bottom line. I just don't think that. I don't think the Cavs have a move to make. I just don't know what they can do, where they go from here. My takeaway, and Mike might have a different point, is I think it's multiple things. I think Jared Allen was not who Jared Allen was in the regular season again, and then two of your star players are hurt. Well, three if you include Mobley's injury, and we just have to go on from there. I'm very disappointed in how it ended, but listen, I mean, we'll get into the Celtics series, but the Celtics series is the same situation. I mean, you're gonna have the Knicks versus Indiana in the Eastern Conference Finals, probably. That's crazy. That's nuts. And when you look at that, and you look at what's happening with the Western Conference, I mean, I honestly, and I'll say this again to Mike when he gets on. I think that this game right here that's being played right now is 5 minutes 42 seconds left in the fourth quarter of the Denver Oklahoma City game. I think this game, whoever wins this series is the NBA champion. That's my prediction. Because I think both of these teams will run roughshod over Indiana and New York. And I think, Minnesota might have a chance to compete. But we'll just have to wait and see. I'm still waiting for Mike here. Well, Mike is back. Mike, I just did about a 2-minute monologue, so you won't have to cut that. Oh,
well, I was doing a 2-minute monologue while I was gone, so it's all good.
Are you still on your phone?
No, now I'm off the phone. Now I'm on the computer. So,
all right. All right, I'm gonna let you. I kind of put a button on what I think the Cavs can do, but I'll let you do it, and then we'll move to the other Eastern Conference series. Does that sound good?
That sounds good. Well, what I was saying again is just I think that I mean, you look at the totality of this series, you look at the totality of what is and has gone on in the last 3 years and the Knicks series, and I think you have to really question whether or not this group in the playoffs can get it done. I just don't know that the small backcourt makes sense. I don't know that the staggering Jared Allen, Evan Mobley minutes make sense, and I don't know. Like you said, I don't know that we're completely prepared to start looking at what the Cavs offseason looks like and what may be available in trade and what may not be available in trade. But I do think there has to be some serious internal questioning about what this team's makeup is and whether or not that it's what you want to move forward with in time. I mean, tonight's game, if we sort of dial in on that, you look at they did keep fighting. It looked like they were dead in the water when they went down 12 there, or 14, whatever they got down. I think maybe 12.
12 and near towards the end of the third quarter, beginning of the fourth.
Yeah. Obi Toppin's layup put the Pacers up by 12, and then couple shots and kind of got the team back going. And then again, they just ran out of gas, couldn't go for three at the line. Mobley went 1 for 2, and they just couldn't get stops when they needed them. Couldn't make big baskets. They shot 30% from three as a team tonight, and it's when you watch this team play in this series, it's unfathomable that we are watching a team that was the second best offense in the history of the NBA during the regular season. It's insane that what we watched over the course of these 5 games against Indiana did not remotely resemble the team that we saw during the regular season. And I think what's unfortunate is that when you look at the last 3 seasons, you can't answer the question that I asked off the top, which is what's the reason behind this loss? Is it just as simple as guys were injured? Darius Garland was clearly not himself. Mobley missed a game. DeAndre Hunter didn't have a good game yesterday. He was decent at times today. Is it just strictly those injuries, or is there something flawed with this team, which is kind of how we went into the season? Is this team flawed? Does the structure of the roster change? And I think that after watching this, I think the structure of the team needs to change. I find it hard to believe that you can have a discussion internally amongst the front office and coaching staff and feel like this group has what it takes in order to win a title. I know they won 64 games. They were a great regular season team. I don't think, because of the limitations of the roster, I don't think they're a great playoff team. They weren't a great playoff team 2 years ago against the Knicks. They weren't a great playoff team last year when they had to go 7 games against Orlando. And they certainly were not a great playoff team this season. And I don't know where you go from here. It's completely and utterly disappointing. Kenny Atkinson couldn't push any buttons to make things. Bench completely disappeared. We've already talked about Ty Jerome, but contributions from anybody else that was meaningless, that was meaningful in any other way, right? I mean, what bench guy had a moment in the series that you thought, oh, that guy really turned the tide? I mean, Hunter had a few moments in tonight's game, but Okoro did nothing. Dean Wade did nothing. There wasn't anybody else. Merrill didn't really do anything in the game that he started. He certainly didn't shoot the ball super well. And they just, what was a great regular season team, I just don't think it's a great playoff team. And I think you have to change up what the roster looks like. I just think it's untenable to continue to play the small guards and also at the same time stagger those minutes. You got to be able to extend guys out. This is the Coach Bud Milwaukee theory, right? Of at some point, Giannis has got to play more than 34 minutes. I don't care if he's playing at 85% of his capacity because he's a little tired. There's got to be times where you play these guys more than just 36 minutes because we're showing off our depth. That's all good in the regular season. It just doesn't work as a playoff strategy. And so I don't know where they go from here, but I do know it's disappointing. The Pacers played really well, man. I mean, they shot the ball extremely well throughout the series. How much of that was the Cavs defense versus what the Pacers were doing offensively? Halliburton hit a ton of huge shots. And all those threes he made in the first after the Cavs got up by 19 really brought Indiana back. And Pacers were just tough. Felt like they never wore down, and they just continued to grind. And eventually the Cavs just broke.
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, what Indiana does going forward. Obviously, it depends on who they're playing. I guess you want to jump to the other series now, Mike. You want to jump?
Sure.
Boston, New York. I think the series is over. Right? There's no way Boston's winning 3 in a row
I don't see how Boston wins
without
3 in a
Tatum.
row. Yeah, without Tatum, I don't see how they can win 3 in a row. It's just a crushing blow for the Celtics and for Jason Tatum. Look, we've been
Oh my God! How far behind are you, Mike? How far behind are you in this game?
I don't know. I mean, there's like 2 minutes left. I saw Shea make the 3-point play. So it's 103-100 right now, Oklahoma City on my
Oh
TV.
my God! Yeah, I'm ahead of you.
Okay.
Anyways, the fact of the matter is, there's no way that Boston's going to win. Boston's basically done next year, right? I mean, you just saw it, didn't you?
I just saw it. It's insane. Jokic is look. He's just,
Jokic hits a ridiculous 3-pointer to tie the game.
He's absolutely unreal. He's got 44 tonight, and he's 17 of 25 from the floor. He's been absolutely unreal tonight. Just tough as nails. Every big shot, every rebound, directing traffic. The guy is just, when you watch him and look, he doesn't look like he's in condition, but anytime that it's required for him to sprint as hard as he can down the floor, whether it's offensively or defensively, like that dude is just, he's an incredible physical specimen. And his basketball IQ and touch is just, I mean, it's off the charts.
Yeah.
It is completely off the charts.
All right, so moving back to Celtics Knicks. Tatum's done next year, right? I mean, what's the earliest he's going to come back? It's a 9.
I suppose you could come back in 9 or 10 months, but anybody who's come back from this injury, now Tatum is on the younger end of guys who have suffered torn Achilles. Usually we think of that as being an injury associated with players who are a little bit older. So certainly Tatum has the opportunity to be able to come back. And you look at Durant.
I mean, you have to assume that's why they did. I mean, this happened last night, and he had the surgery today.
Well, at a certain point, I guess, what are you waiting for, right? I mean, once you diagnose it, you might as well get it done as quickly as possible. So let's say best case scenario, he comes back in 9 months. He's certainly not going to be in his first 3 months of being back on an NBA floor. He's not going to be at the level where he was pre-injury. He may be able to get close to that eventually. You look at Durant, who has come back from his torn Achilles, and I would say, look, he's an aging player, but Durant's been pretty much Durant since he came back from the injury. Tatum certainly is capable of doing that, but it's just a devastating injury. And we've been critical of Jason Tatum on the podcast, and anybody who listens to us regularly knows that neither one of us really are fans of the Celtics, but you certainly feel for the guy. It's not something that you wish upon anyone. It's terrible for him personally. It's terrible for the organization. It's just, when you look at what Boston is facing right now and what they have to try to do with their payroll and figure that out. There was already talk that they were going to have to maybe get rid of one or both of the Drew Holiday, Derek White, Porzingis group. And now when you're looking at next season without Tatum, at least until possibly the very end, I mean, it's just devastating for Boston. And as much as this loss hurts the Cavs, right? For Boston, no one went into that series thinking that the Knicks had even remotely had a chance to win that series. And the fact that they somehow gave up those 2 20-point leads in games 1 and 2 at home to lose those 2 games to the Knicks. Nobody saw that coming. Then you just throw the Tatum injury on top of it. You have the sale of the franchise. You have the upcoming season salary and tax bill and going into the repeater tax and everything that goes along with that. It really feels like the window on this Boston Celtics team has has slammed shut, which is kind of crazy when you think about where we were. Think about how different the league landscape looks today than it did a week and a half ago, where everybody kind of thought that, hey, Boston and the Cavs are going to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. One of those teams is going to clearly represent the Eastern Conference in the finals, and it's just not going to happen. And so I think that when you look at Boston, the run of this Tatum Brown, this iteration of those two guys being surrounded by the supporting cast that won the title last year, this team's run is finished. And maybe they can retool when Tatum gets healthy and you keep Tatum and Brown and build around those two guys. But man, otherwise, I think Boston's pretty much finished as a title contender for the next season, 2, 3, I don't know how long.
Yeah.
But it certainly feels like they're finished. And then on the other hand, you look at the Knicks, and what we've really seen is the ascension of Jalen Brunson as, if you talk about a guy who comes through in the playoffs, who's a playoff player, at this point, there's no question that Jalen Brunson just, I mean,
Killer.
he's been unguardable in this series. They just can't, they can't do anything with him. It doesn't matter. They throw double teams at him. It doesn't matter. They throw size, they throw quickness, they throw anybody that they've thrown at Brunson, he's been able to solve. And that's why New York's where they are, in addition to what they've been able to do defensively and some of the variance in the shooting in the first two games with the Celtics. But the Celtics, you can't even call it variance, honestly, with the Celtics, because that's the way they played. Even in their title season last year, they still had games where they just continued to chuck threes. Even right before Tatum got hurt last night, I think it was the possession before, they were down maybe 7, or maybe they were down 5. I can't remember, but basically they brought the ball up the floor and Tatum held the ball. He was kind of on the right, not the right wing, but maybe in the slot on the right-hand side. And he took like 2 dribbles and then did a step back 3 that was an air ball. And those are the kind of possessions with the Celtics that just, if you were a Celtics fan, would just have to be infuriating. And it doesn't make sense. But the Knicks have played really well. That's the bottom line. Brunson has been incredible. Cat has been, I would say, pedestrian, certainly on offense. Defensively, screen rolls, he's had a lot of struggles. He's done actually okay on some switches when he had to switch on to Tatum and Brown, but it's just, I still can't really wrap my head around the fact that the Cavs and the Celtics probably tomorrow night. Boston, I guess, could win, but I don't think they're going to win tomorrow night. But
yeah,
by tomorrow night, both the Cavs and the Celtics could be out. And if you'd have told me that 10 days ago, I'd have told you were crazy. So,
yep. Yeah, I think it's over tomorrow night, Mike. It's done. It's dusted.
Psychologically, it has to just be crushing for Boston to be able to come back from the Tatum injury, being down 3-1, everything that goes along with it. I just, the Porzingis virus / inability to be at his best. It has to be. I'll be surprised if the Knicks don't finish him off tomorrow, just because of the psychological nature of what's happened to them at this point.
Yep. All right. So now let's move to the Western Conference. We'll start with the game from tonight. Is it over yet, Mike? I turned it off.
It's over.
Okay.
112-105.
Oklahoma City wins. Now, when you're on your hiatus, when your phone went out, I said, I feel like the winner of this series is the NBA champion.
I think you're right. I think that these two teams, watching this game tonight and watching this series in its entirety, you just see, one, I give Denver a ton of credit because their championship core of guys, so we're talking about the 4 guys that were around for the title run, plus Christian Brown, those guys have all been, I mean, just Jokic had some pedestrian games for him in games 2, 3, and 4. Tonight he was just incredible, and Murray tonight was incredible. It's clear that when you look at Oklahoma City's defense has been, I would say, everything that has been advertised, and Denver was up. I think they were up 90 to 82, and then Oklahoma City just kind of put the clamps down and
Well,
was able
here,
to
and I'm
score
going to tell you what happened, Mike. The Russell Westbrook experience started.
Correct. Russell Westbrook, how many air balls did he shoot when he was wide open? And that's, look, Denver, that's Denver. When you look at Denver,
listen, I'll tell you what the quote I thought of right when that was all happening. If the answer to the problem is Russell Westbrook, I don't want to know what the question is. It was the same thing as the Harden situation, right?
Yep.
He came in.
I
Listen,
agree.
listen, we can give him a lot of crap for his shot selection and things like that. You will get one thing out of Russell. He will bust his butt at all times, sometimes to his detriment, and he plays hard, right? I would much rather someone be out there that's playing hard than someone that's doing what Jared Allen was doing against the Bigs in the fourth quarter tonight. Okay, but at the same time, he's airballing wide open threes. He missed a corner three and then a three from the extended wing. He did make that nice little laid up though when the Jokic got him the ball. That was a nice little flip he had.
That was
But,
his one bucket. You just they're Denver is one guy, and really they're probably two guys short, right? Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther both played. Watson played 15 minutes tonight. Strawther played 10, and they were both fine, but neither one of those guys is ready to play and compete at this level. I mean, you look at the four main guys from their title run. Murray had 28 tonight. Jokic had 44. Michael Porter Jr. kind of disappeared. He was 0-5 from 3. Didn't play well. He's basically good for half the games, right? You never know which Michael Porter you're going to get. And Aaron Gordon was not as good as he's been in previous games. Jokic was just so incredible tonight that he was able to kind of carry them to the brink and then just couldn't quite get him over the top. But they're one more guy, one more shooter away from really being able to. They could have won this game if you had somebody else in that spot besides Russ. And look, I don't think they're dead in the series. I would expect them to come home to Denver and win that game, and then you throw a game 7 in there. And I'm not sure how excited I would be to bet against Jokic in a game 7, but this series has been played at. It's kind of been played. It's been played at. Part of me wanted to say it's been played at a high level, but it really hasn't necessarily been played at a high level. It's been played at a high level of playoff intensity, where both teams have had to grind and fight and work for everything that they've gotten from the other team. And Denver, it's kind of amazing when you think that they fired their coach with 3 games to go in the regular season. And here they are going toe to toe in a series that, like you said, it really does feel like whichever one of these two teams wins this series is likely to have a great chance to win the NBA championship. All right, here's a question related to that particular thought.
Yeah.
Is there any chance that either New York or Indiana can win the title against any of these? I mean, it's not going to be Golden State.
Indiana's the only team I think that can, because I think they could run with Oklahoma City. They're going to give up a lot of points, but Indiana might score a lot of points. I mean, if you get the Halliburton that played tonight, I mean, he basically was hitting logo threes for stretches in that game. I still think Indiana's probably missing a piece. I think the champion's coming out of the West, Mike. Oklahoma City, Denver, and then Minnesota would be the only team, like the only of the gold. I mean, Minnesota's, we'll talk about that series. I don't know how much we're going to really spend on that series, but I think the winner, the NBA champion, is the Western Conference, most likely between Denver and Oklahoma City, probably Oklahoma City. I don't know what the current, odds are right now to win the NBA championship, but I mean, that's
Oklahoma City has to be the favorite after winning this game because now Denver obviously has to win 2 just to advance out of this series. So Oklahoma City has been really, really good defensively. They have made things very as difficult as you can make things for Jokic. They have made things that difficult. Now he figured it out tonight, and the difference between him and this game and the last 3 is all of his little floaters and runners and little shots around the rim that for some reason he was missing in those last 3 games. He
Oh
made
my
all those
God, Mike.
tonight.
Oh my God. Oklahoma City's got the best odds.
Yeah, right. That's
Who's number 2?
Who's number 2? Well,
Where's the money at, Mike?
where's the money? Where's New York?
New York.
Yeah, I would disagree. I would disagree with that.
Then Minnesota's 3rd.
I could see that because they're
The
already
Pacers
advancing
are
to-
4th. Boston is 5th, and Denver is now 6th because they are down 3-2.
which is probably fair when you look at the odds of them advancing. But I do think that you're right. With your statement.
Denver having worse odds than Boston's a little crazy to me.
That is crazy at this point. Although I think the sentiment, right, is that
Oh, I forgot. This is the best. Oklahoma City is minus 135. New York's plus 490. Denver's plus 3,000. The Golden State Warriors are plus 18,000.
yeah, the Golden State Warriors. I don't think we have to worry about the Golden State Warriors
Yeah.
advancing to the NBA Finals. I don't think that's going to happen. I
This is
fairly
courtesy of
confident-
FanDuel, by the way. Just so you know, FanDuel.
There you go. I feel fairly confident that that's the case.
Yeah. All right. You want to? I mean, do we really have to spend? On Golden State. Listen, Golden State's terrible without Steph Curry, right? I mean, Jimmy Butler's played well. Kuminga's played great. Like you could have never predicted Kuminga, but after those 2 guys, I mean,
There's just not enough there.
and
Butler,
I want to be clear here, Mike. Minnesota has not been great.
no,
Okay,
they have not.
because they've barely won the last 2 games, and they barely won the game that Steph got hurt, right?
Correct.
So like, I'm not saying I don't want. This is not an indictment, on Golden State at all. They're banged up, they're injured without Steph because it's so important. But like Minnesota's not been great, so that's why I don't think there's I don't really believe that. Although I think it would be kind of fun to have a Minnesota New York Knicks NBA Finals. Wouldn't that be exciting? We talked about the trade not making any sense for either team, and then both those teams get to the NBA Finals. Come on, Mike.
Teams get to the finals. Yeah, it would really not make our commentary and analysis look very good. But I don't know. Well, let's put it this way: between those 2 guys, I certainly feel like Randall has been more of a driving force in getting Minnesota to where they are than Towns has been to getting the Knicks where they are. I'll just put it that way. So I certainly was higher on the trade for Minnesota than I was for Denver, or than I was for Minnesota than for the Knicks. I guess that's what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, that would be a fun and interesting finals. The Golden State just doesn't have enough. Butler, although he's been good, they've needed the Jimmy Butler from 2023 carrying the Heat from the play-in to the finals. They've really needed playoff Jimmy, and instead they've gotten pretty good regular season Jimmy, which is still a very good player. But without Steph, they need Jimmy putting up 35 a game and controlling the action and just being the dominant force that he was back in 2023. And he has not been that. And then you look beyond Butler, and then you're relying on Kuminga, who couldn't even get off the bench against Houston. And he's been good, but he's also been given a different role where they're just kind of giving him the ball and saying, go get us some buckets because they don't have anybody else who can really score. Draymond's been Draymond, which when
hey man, that was a pretty good choke cold takedown he did yesterday.
Yeah, he's that guy walks the line and is way, way, way over the line. When you look at the way that he behaves himself on the court, both with the way that he just able to just flails his arms around and is hitting people all the time, and then just the way he runs his mouth at officials, it's pretty incredible the length of the leash that he gets, that he just doesn't get tossed out of more games because his behavior is completely and utterly ridiculous. And then you can take it a step further and just say that Draymond's been a great player for Golden State. He's perfect in their system when the other pieces and parts, particularly Steph, are available and on the floor. When you take those other pieces, parts out of the Warriors offense, Draymond's effectiveness is because he just isn't, he just can't score. And this particular version of Golden State needs guys who can put the ball in the basket. And that's just not what Draymond is good at. And so he's clearly had an outstanding career, and he's been a huge part of why Golden State has won 4 championships. But when you take away and you say, all right, Draymond, you're going to now be the second best player or wherever you want to put him, especially on the offensive end, he's not that type of offensive player. He's somebody who can maybe make guys hurt, but he's not a guy that's going to carry you when another one of your stars are out, and that's been proven. And then on the Wolves side, Randall's been really, really good. He's had a lot to do with why Minnesota's advanced as far as they have. He's done a lot less ball stopping. I feel like he's been more decisive and more attacking, not settling for threes the way it looked like when he was in New York. He also, I remember just in several of the Knicks playoff games over the last couple of years when he's been out there and things haven't gone his way, his body language is terrible, and just he hasn't looked like a guy that's been comfortable in the playoffs, and he looks comfortable with Minnesota. And I think Minnesota's advantage is they're just because of their size, and you compare and contrast the Timberwolves size defensively versus a team like the Cavs, where you're looking at, you got Anthony Edwards and Jade McDaniel, and then you have DiVincenzo or Nikhil Alexander Walker. The guys are all big and all physical and all people who, when they're guarding you, you're going to feel them. And it's a struggle to go against them every game, at all times. And look, Golden State has not put up much of an opposition. I would expect Minnesota to finish the series off tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? But it is what it is.
Now,
Steph
is getting reevaluated tomorrow, right? Theoretically,
but the hamstring, even if he comes back, I feel like he's going to be either A, diminished, where he's not going to be able to go full go, because if he is going full go, I could see a re-aggravation of the injury, because that's just something that you really have to be completely 100% healed before you can come back from that. And who knows, maybe he will be. Maybe he's a fast healer and he gets back out there and he's 100%. Even with all that being said, even if playing in this entire series, I still think Minnesota wins this series relatively easily. And as you said, they haven't played great. Anthony Edwards has been up and down. He's had great quarters, great halves, but he's had other halves where he was pretty bad. And so I don't know how much Minnesota's been pushed, but I do think that it gets a lot tougher. But I do think that Minnesota has the capability and the personnel to be able to match up with and play with either the Nuggets or the Thunder. It should be, regardless of which team comes out of the Nuggets Thunder series, I think a Wolves Thunder or Wolves Nuggets would be an entertaining series. And obviously we saw the Wolves Nuggets last year when the Wolves beat them in the Western Conference semifinals to the Western Conference finals, where they lost to Dallas. That one, and I think Oklahoma City.
You're gone again. All right. All right. Well, Mike's having technical issues tonight, so I'm guessing when he comes back, we're just gonna wrap it up. Mike.
Yep, I'm back, man. I'm back.
All right, let's just wrap this up because you were going in and out before that you even, and you're looks like it's already telling me you're reconnecting and you're going to get kicked off again.
There I am. I don't know. I've had two Spectrum appointments. I had one on Friday. I had one on, and now I have another one tomorrow. And this will be my last. We switched from Breeze Line to Spectrum. Now we're gonna have to go back to Breeze Line. They're both horrendous services, absolutely horrendous. Anyway, let's wrap it up. What do we expect to happen a week from today? What are the series we're talking about?
A week from today, we're talking about New York, Boston, and we're talking about Oklahoma City, Minnesota.
You mean New York, Indiana?
What did I say? What did I say? Did I say New York, Boston?
You said
New York,
boy,
New York, Indiana. New York.
You got confidence in the Celtics, baby. They're coming back when we talk Game 7 of that series.
No, because that Game 7 would have already happened by now. Because Game 5 is tomorrow. And Game 7 would have been on Sunday. We're talking New York, Indiana. We're talking Oklahoma City, Minnesota.
Does Denver push it to 7? Does Denver get it to Game 7?
I think it's 7. I think it's 7.
I think it goes 7. I can still see Denver winning this thing, but Oklahoma City tonight was a real gut check because they were down in the fourth, and I don't know what the run was that they ended the game on, but
it was the Russell Westbrook run, Mike.
It was a pretty good. I don't know what the final numbers were because I think they were up at one point. I think it was 90 to 82, and
I know it was 80-71.
Yeah, I think it was 90. I think at some point it was 90 to 82. So you're talking about whatever that would be. They got outscored 30 to 15 to end the game, which seems pretty crazy because it looked like throughout this entire time how good that Murray was 10 of 27. I thought he looked like vintage Jamal Murray. I thought he looked like championship Jamal Murray, but then he kind of got cooled down in the second half. But still, the way he was moving and the way he was attacking and the way the two-man game looked, I'm not counting Denver out. I expect them to win Game 6, and then obviously we know Game 7. Who knows? Is it shooting variance? Is it whatever? I'd be happy to put my money on Nikola Jokic in a Game 7. So we'll see what happens. But I agree. New York, Indiana, I think is the Eastern Conference Finals. And I think more than likely it's probably going to be Oklahoma City and Minnesota. So we will see. We are going to go.
Next year, Dallas is planting the flag, Mike.
Dallas has planted the flag. We didn't even talk about the lottery. We probably should have done it. It's crazy that Dallas won the lottery.
That's all. That's all we need to say. It's rigged. Okay, it's done. It's rigged.
It's legitimately insane that Dallas won the lottery. Did you listen to the Zach Lowe today?
Yes.
Yeah. That was hilarious. Just it's funny just to think that it's already all happened before. And I mean, I know we knew this before, but just all the things that go on behind the scenes with the balls and whatever. It's crazy that everybody in that room, it sounds like when Dallas came up with that pick, everybody was just shaking their head and being like, this is completely and utterly ridiculous, which it is, and will always continue to be utterly ridiculous. So anyway, there's a lot for us to dissect a lot around the lottery and the draft, which we'll continue to do as we move forward here. Sad night for us Cavs fans. I don't know that we're going to see this iteration of the team ever again. I don't know that we're I'll be surprised if they run it back. I guess you could make a case for it because the Eastern Conference is not going to be that stellar again. So maybe you just run it back with the idea that, hey, we can get a top 2 or 3 seed with the roster and then take our chances that we're healthy and see what we can do. That's one way they could go. I don't think this is a championship roster. I think you have to do something with the backcourt. And I think you have to Jared Allen, I'm not sure the lights aren't too bright for him in the playoffs. So anyway, let's leave it there unless you got anything else.
No, I guess now we got to start paying attention to the Guardians a little bit and plan for the Browns and their 5 quarterbacks in their quarterback room. All right.
Hey, they finally did what I've been asking them to do. They only took 2 quarterbacks. I've been begging for them to take 6 or 7 in a draft. So at least they took 2. Who knows? We'll see. Maybe they got somebody who can play out of their 5 guys that they have in the quarterback room. So remains to be seen. Anyway, tough night for us Cavs fans. Thank you for checking out tonight's NBA episode. We'll be back next week talking Eastern and Western Conference Finals. So thanks for listening, and we will catch you on our next episode. Thanks.